Hey, Sal here from SJ Cooks. Today we're cooking a chuck roast on the Weber kettle using the snake method. Chuck roasts are cheap, versatile, easy, and they cook quickly. You can cook them brisket style or cut them up and make some poor man burn ends. Braising a chuck roast is the third way I enjoy cooking them, and that's the way I'm going to cook this chuck roast today. After the braise, the chuck roast shreds really easily. You can use any liquid you want, broth, onion, garlic, a little wine. They work incredibly well. But today I did a quick red sauce. But before we braise anything, let's set up our kettle. I'll be using the snake method, and I'll be laying down 2 rows of charcoal at the bottom and another row of charcoal on top. This is a 2x1 snake. If you need specifics on the snake method and why you should use it, be sure to check out my snake method guide video and it'll answer any questions you might have. I go into some in-depth explanations, so if any of this doesn't make sense, be sure to check out that video first. Once the snake is built, I'll light one end and let the kettle come up to temperature. The advantage to using the snake method is you'll easily have low and slow temperatures for an extended period of time, which will be great for this chuck roast. For the chuck roast, I'm first putting in some Worcestershire sauce, which will add a nice base flavor. Next, I'm hitting it with the beef rub. The beef rub I'm using today is made by Oakland Dust, which just introduces some great color. Now for a little crust, I'm hitting it with a 50-50 salt and pepper mix. Chuck roasts really don't need this much for them to taste amazing. If you went with the standard salt, pepper, garlic mix, you'll be very happy. But I was feeling a little adventurous today, so I decided to layer in some flavors. I'm always trying to experiment with different flavor combinations. What about you? Let's place in a temperature probe in our kettle to monitor temperatures. Let's place in our seasoned chuck roast on the kettle and start cooking. The snake method does such a great job at locking in temperatures, you really don't need to monitor anything. But I've been testing out the snake method quite a bit recently, so this is mainly to collect some data. If you're curious about my vent settings, I have the top vent a half open and the bottom vent a quarter open. If I'm cooking anywhere between 225 and 275, I'm happy, so I don't think I'll need to do any adjustments. Every kettle is different, so always remember, if your kettle isn't running hot enough, adjust the top vent first, then make very slight adjustments at the bottom vent. It is important to wait like 10 minutes after adjustment is made. This way it gives it enough time for your kettle to settle in. As you see, I'm not monitoring internal temperatures. All I'm looking for is a chuck roast get some good color and for the rub to set. This chuck roast took about 3 hours for the rub to set. This is what it looked like, and it's ready for the second part of this cooking, which is the braising process. Now for the braise, I'm cooking up a red sauce. Now usually I just place in some beef broth and some onions, garlic, carrots, and this serves beautifully with some rice and mashed potatoes. But I decided to do something a little different. This sauce has 2 Roma tomatoes, half an onion, about 5 cloves of garlic, 2 cloves, 1 bay leaf, about 4 allspice berries, half a teaspoon of cumin, half a teaspoon of oregano, and half a teaspoon of thyme. I'm throwing in some spicy peppers and about 4 guajillos that I hydrated with a little hot water. I'm dropping in like a cup of the water I used to hydrate the peppers. Be sure to spill some on the table like I did. And then add the salt and pepper. Not too much. We could always adjust for the salt a little later. Let's give it a good blend and strain into the aluminum pan. I'm putting in about a tablespoon of North seasoning because, well, why not? Let's also check for salt. It needs just a little bit more, so I'm dropping in about a teaspoon. Let's get the chuck roast out of the kettle and into this delicious red sauce we've made. Let's cover it with foil. At this point, there really isn't any danger of it drying out on you. There's plenty of liquid to keep it moist, but we'll want to cook it for a few more hours until it's fork tender. You can also increase the temperatures on your kettle to about 300 degrees. This way it'll get tender a lot quicker. This chuck roast took an additional 3 hours for me to be able to shred it with a fork. Now this is ready to eat as is, but I wanted to just shred it and cook it up just a little bit more so the sauce kind of covers all of the meat. You can eat this a bunch of ways, but my favorite way is to stuff some enchiladas with this delicious smoked shredded meat. But you can certainly plate this up with a little bit of rice. Now if braising a chuck roast ain't your thing, then cook it like a brisket. Or better yet, cook up some poor man burnt ends. So be sure to check out these two videos next.